Hi there Booktube, it's Eleanor here and it's time for Friday Reads. So before we get into the books that I've read this week, I want to do my Booktuber shout out. This week I want to shout out a lovely lady that I met when I was on a recent trip to London with some of my other Booktuber friends. We met up for the day in London to do some book shopping and some eating and drinking and having a lovely day, and while we were in one of the shops, a lovely girl came up and chatted to us who has recently started a booktube channel. So I wanted to shout her out because I think she's going to be really interesting to watch and I love the books that she's reading. Her name is Sophie and her channel is Sophie Loves 10. I will link as always down below. Go and check her out, show her some booktubey love, and I look forward to seeing more videos from her in the future. So anyway, it's been a bit of a weird month for me this month, not having a TBR, and I hadn't been reading very much, as you may have gathered from my lack of Friday reads recently, but this week I read 2 books and rather a lot of graphic novels. So I'm going to first talk about the 2 books that I read, and the first one was Gemina by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I was very kindly sent this by the publishers, so thank you very much to them for that, but it won't affect my thoughts and feelings on this in any way. I loved Illuminae and gave it 5 stars. I thought it was a really original, really interesting, fast-paced story written in a different format, and Gemina is no different. It again is written in a really interesting format through video transcriptions and emails and instant messages, and this is following a new cast of characters. Our main characters in this are Han and Nick, and we're following the timeline is sort of towards the end of Illuminae, but in parallel. So it's happening on this jump station called Hendal, I think is how you pronounce it, and it's where the Illuminae ship is looking to jump to. So we're sort of running a little bit within parallel to the end of the Illuminae story. It is fun and fast-paced, and again full of really great characters with some really witty one-liners. But needless to say, it was a brilliant sequel. 5 stars from me. Definitely worth picking up when it comes out. I think in October. Yeah, 13th of October. So definitely keep your eyes peeled for this one because it was brilliant. The next book I picked up, unfortunately I haven't got to show you because it's gone back to the library, but it was The Lie Tree by Frances Harjings. I've been wanting to read this for ages. I've heard great things. It's won some prizes, and so I finally picked it up and I really enjoyed it. It's a really well crafted story. I really enjoyed our strong female protagonist, who is, I believe, about 11 years old, and she is desperate to be a woman of science, but when this book is taking place, that's just not the case. It's not the thing. Women aren't meant to be clever or be able to do science. They're just to marry and produce the babies. And the only reason I didn't give this one a 5 star, I gave it 4 stars in the end, is purely a personal preference. I for some reason I really struggle to get on with books set in this sort of time period, sort of Victorian-esque time period, and that is just purely my preference. I think had I been anybody else reading it, I probably would have given it 5 stars. It's just that particular time period isn't one that I necessarily get on with so much. The sort of gothic style, yeah, I don't know why, just I struggle to really get involved in stories set in those time periods. So the story is about Faith and her mother and father and younger brother Hal. They move to a tiny remote island, also with their uncle, and Faith's father is a reverend but also a naturalist, and he's been asked to come to the island because they are uncovering fossils, and he's asked to come sort of give his expertise but also take over as the reverend of the island. And he's also escaping from some controversy that's been taking place on the mainland at his home and within his field, and so he's sort of, there's a bit of a mystery surrounding why they've had to leave so quickly, and they're sort of trying to get away from some bad publicity. And they go to the island and her father is found dead, and Faith is determined to discover what has happened, and cue lots of unravelling of story and mystery and a little bit of magical stuff going on, and it was just a really, really good fun, fast-paced story. And I think, as I say, if you enjoy books set in this particular time period, I think you will really enjoy it, and I really loved it, and it was 4 stars from me. The next book I picked up was Made Me in Love by Marie Force. This is the first book in the Gansett Island series, I believe, and I listened to this on audiobook. I thought I'd give it a go. Me and Jen are still on our lookout for our favourite Lucky Harbour series replacements, and so I thought I'd give this one a go. I know she said she wasn't a lover of this one, but it got better as the series went on, and I have to agree, I wasn't a particular lover of this one. It's about a man who comes back to the island after being away for a number of years. He crashes into a single mum, knocks her off her bike, and consequently means that she can't get to work and she can't look after her 9-month-old son very easily because she's injured, and he goes to nurse her back to health. They fall in love, and that is the story really. And it was okay, but yeah, it wasn't for me. The work banter wasn't there, and the romance between the two felt a little bit rushed, and yeah, I just didn't do it for me, so I gave this one 2 stars. Next up, I had a bit of a read of graphic novels. I've read quite a few. I've got 6 here to talk to you about, so I'm going to go through them quite quickly. The first one that I picked up is My Little Pony Volume 1 Ponytails. Now, there is a bit of a funny story about this. Basically, recently I was chatting to Janet from Swirly Girly Reads, saying how much my daughter loves My Little Pony and how she was watching it on TV. And she mentioned that when her daughter was at school, the 15, 16-year-old boys, some of them were really obsessed with My Little Pony. I found this a little bit odd, and so I was chatting to my husband about it, and he said, well, didn't you know that's a thing? They're called bronies. 18 to 33-year-old men that like My Little Pony called bronies. And we looked it up, and there is a documentary on YouTube about these bronies. I'll link it down below. It was very interesting, and I have to say, like, way to go, boys. If you want to like My Little Pony, go for it. I think it's really great, and My Little Pony gives out great messages. So when we were out at our Booktuber meetup recently, I found some My Little Pony graphic novels which I didn't know existed, and I thought, I'm going to give that a go and see what I think. And oh my god, I'm so pleased I did, because I'm now a definite Pegasister, because I love My Little Pony. The artwork in this is brilliant. It's just the sort of artwork that I like, and I just really enjoyed it. This particular volume is Ponytails, so you follow each of the different My Little Ponies in a story and find out a bit more about their personality. The My Little Pony stories have great moral messages. They're not dark really, and there's no swearing and nudity and things like that. They're very sweet and wholesome, and just really good fun stories with really nice messages about friendship that come through. And there is funny moments in there. There's some hints to adult shows, and there's a little bit in there for everyone, and I just really loved this one. And so I also picked up volume 1 of an ongoing series where I think there's at least 10 volumes out already, of Friendship is Magic. Now, this is more of a storyline based rather than just a story on each of the ponies. This is a story based with an overarching story, and I have to say this is brilliant, and I loved it. It was just so much fun to read. I couldn't put it down. On this one, we follow the 6 ponies as they band together to go and rescue some other ponies and go on a quest. The whole of this volume is one overarching story arc, and it was just brilliant. I loved it, and I gave this one 5 stars because I just think it's brilliant, and I can't wait to continue with the story. And I really loved this one as well, but not quite as much, and so I gave it 4 stars. I think definitely more of a story-led book is more for me, rather than lots of individual stories in each issue, so I can't wait to carry on with this series. Next up was a slightly disappointing one, and that was Unfollow. This is a Vertigo graphic novel by Rob Williams, Mike Dowling, R.M. Guerra, Quentin Winter and Guila Brusco. This is the story of a multi-billionaire who has created a social media. From what I can gather, it's like Twitter, and he has pancreatic cancer, is going to die, and has decided to donate his £1 billion fortune split between 140 characters. or people. And so those people are called to the island. They're all types of different people, and they're called to his island, where he addresses them before he dies, telling them what money they're getting, but also that if one person dies, then their share will get split between the remaining people. So obviously, given human nature, people start to die, and we're following characters in this and how they get on. There's just too many weird characters in this for me. No one that I could really grab hold of that I liked, and it was just, the story was just a bit confusing at times for me. There was things going on that I didn't really get or care about, and so I gave this one 3 stars. Next up, I picked up The Pirates of Pangaea Book 1 by Daniel Hartwell and Neil Cameron. This is by David Fickling Books. This is the story of a girl who is going to stay with her uncle, and she is going to an island where dinosaurs exist, and she comes across pirates, and there's a bit of a race. And it was good, but I definitely think I'm not the target audience for this. I believe this is aimed at sort of 11-year-olds, and it was a fun story, but there just wasn't enough quirky humour to it like the My Little Ponies to keep me as interested. And so I enjoyed it. It was a fun story. There's pirates, there's dinosaurs, what's not to like, but not probably one that I will continue on with, and I gave this one 3 stars. Next, I picked up Zodiac Star Force Volume 1 by The Power of Astra by Kevin Panetta and Paulina Ganuccio. I really enjoy the look of the artwork of this, the colour palette, and the storyline is about girls in high school who also have to save the world. I really like the concept, and I think this is going to be a great series. One thing I wanted a bit more of in here is how this sort of Star Force Zodiac Star Force sort of originated, more of an origin story, backstory about what it is and how it transpired. But given the epilogue in this, I think we may be getting a bit more of that in the next volume, so I will definitely be picking up the next volume to see. In this story, the girls have sort of disbanded from this Zodiac Star Force, and so we don't really understand why. We sort of missed what's happened before. Something happens, these monsters start appearing, which means they have to band back together and form their Zodiac Star Force group, and it's just really good fun. And as I say, the artwork is really good, and I really enjoyed the story. There's a really lovely LGBTQIA storyline in there, so it was a really good story, a strong first volume, and I gave it 4 stars. And the final book that I picked up was the second volume, volume 2 of Gem and the Holograms, called Viral. And I really enjoyed this as well. It was a really great second book in the series, following Gem and the Holograms and the misfits and their battles against each other and the storylines amongst the girls themselves. And I just love it. I just love this. It's brilliant. I gave it 5 stars. It's a well-deserving 5 stars. I can't wait to see what happens next. If you loved Gem and the Hologram as a kid like I did, this is really brilliant. And if you didn't, I think you would really enjoy it. So definitely pick up the first one and see what you think. But this was a really great continuation of the story. Jerica and her sisters have a band. Jerica is extremely shy and has massive stage fright, and in order to get onto stage, she becomes Gem, who is a much more confident, different person to herself, with the help of something that her dad helped to create. And I don't want to tell you anything else because I'll spoil it, but this is about their sort of battle against another band that are popular called the Misfits, who are probably not quite so nice. And it's about their sort of battle of the bands to try and be the most popular. And it's just really good fun, and I love it. So yeah. I'm sorry this has been a really long one today. There was quite a lot to get through, but I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And definitely go and check out Sophie because she deserves some lovely Booktube love, and I can't wait to see more from her channel. Bye for now, Booktube.